Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. A 5.4% bump in the allowance. Different things are happening all over the place, and it's hard to keep up with them all. I'm going to share with you some information here that came out. I did a video on this not too long ago, but going to bring it up again since now we are in January. So with that, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Every thumbs up and every minute watched helps the channel to expand its reach, which is the main goal, right? So thank you so much for doing that. If you're not subscribed, please do so. All right, so let's jump into this. This is on military.com, and it just came out. It was published on January 6th, 2025 by Amanda Miller. Thank you so much. And the headline here is 2025 Guide to Pay and Allowances for Military Service Members, Veterans, and Retirees. So let's jump into it and see what they got to say. All right. Many U.S. military service members anticipate significant increases to their pay and allowances in 2025. So we're going to go through a few different things here. Military service members, veterans, and retirees, the pay and allowances, right? So just to stick with me here. If it doesn't directly affect you, there might be a piece that does. So hang on with me. All right. So many U.S. military service members anticipate significant increases to their pay and allowances in 2025, such as a 14.5% pay raise for junior enlisted troops and an average 5.4% bump in the basic allowance for housing, BAH rates, varying by location and other factors, of course. Meanwhile, veterans, retirees, and survivors receive a 2.5% increase to their benefits in 2025 based on the Social Security Administration's annual cost of living adjustment, which we all should have seen reflected in our most recent pay from the VA. Now, if you're not sure, double check it, because I have heard a couple people say that theirs did not reflect the increase. If it did not reflect the increase, then make a phone call to the VA benefits line. You can open up, you can go to Google and Google search VA disability compensation rates, find what rate you should be paid, and cross-reference that with your direct deposit, and then see if it's right. All right, moving on. Here are some of the pays and allowances that the U.S. service members and veterans may be entitled to receive in 2025. 2025 basic military pay. Active duty service members won't all receive the same percentage increase in their basic pay in 2025 because of two factors. Congress authorized a bigger raise for junior enlisted troops in 2025. Top officers' pay is capped below that of certain civilian government executives. Because junior enlisted members had a harder time affording basic needs, among other reasons, Congress approved a 14.5% raise for troops in E1 to E4 pay grades in the fiscal year 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, along with a 4.5% raise for all others tied to the Employment Cost Index, except for those whose pay couldn't exceed a certain cap by law. The 4.5% raise and the smaller raises for the officers who hit the pay cap kicked in January 1st, including for E1s to E4s, who get the remaining 10% starting in April. Some officers won't receive the full 4.5% raise because their pay reached a cap. All O10s, all O9s, and all O8s with 30 or more years of service will make the same amount in basic pay in 2025 because their pay, along with that of O7s, but they didn't hit the cap, must not exceed that of a level 2 of the federal executive schedule for civilian pay. Those senior officers will make $18,808 a month in basic pay to stay under the civilian level 2 rate of $225,700 a year. 2025 basic allowance for housing, BAH, is up 5.4% in 2025 for the second year in a row. About 1 million service members received the benefit. The new rates took effect January 1st. The BAH calculator assumes service members will absorb 5% of their housing costs, meaning they will pay about $90 to $202 out of pocket in 2025, depending on their rank, their location, and whether they have dependents. Local housing and utility costs determine BAH rates, so while most go up each year, some go down in those areas. However, service members already living there can keep their existing rate. The 5.4% average increase represents another larger than normal rate increase. The 2023 increase of 12.1% was up from 5.1% in 2022. All right, 2025 CONUS COLA. In addition to the BAH, some service members in areas with particularly high cost of living costs that aren't limited to just housing receive the Continental United States Cost of Living Allowance. Significantly more troops will receive the allowance in 2025. All areas receiving the CONUS COLA in 2025 are in California, Massachusetts, New York, and 61,000 service members will receive a total of about $51 million in CONUS COLA payments in 2025, up from 17,000 receiving $26 million in 2024 and 5,000 receiving $8 million in 2023. The 2025 basic allowance for subsistence. Service members get a few more dollars a month for meals in 2025. The monthly basic allowance for subsistence, or BAS, covers the cost of meals service members only, not for their dependents. The BAS rates are going up about 1.2% in 2025, from $4.60 to $4.65 a month for enlisted members, and from $316.98 to $320.78 for officers. 2.5% COLA for veterans and survivors. Several benefits for veterans and their survivors increase each year based on the Social Security Administration's annual cost of living adjustment. There's a correction. They don't increase each year. They could increase each year. They could be flat and be zero, no increase. So, small correction. All right. Not an allowance like the CONUS COLA, but instead an across-the-board percentage increase in payments. This includes the pay for military retirees. The Department of Veterans Affairs COLA-based increases take effect December 1st of each year. The 2025 increase amounts to 2.5%. That's down from the 2024 COLA of 3.2% and the 8.7% that we realized in 2023, which was the largest in decades. So the question now is, what benefits receive the 2.5% increase? Well, the 2025 VA disability pay would be one. The tax-free payments are for veterans with at least a 10% disability rating from a service-connected physical or mental health condition. Ranges from $175.51 per month for a veteran with a 10% rating in 2025 to $4,544.23 per month for a 100% disabled veteran with a spouse, child, and 2 dependent parents. Rates for additional children and spouses who require aid and attendance vary according to the veteran's disability rating. The 2025 Special Monthly Compensation, SMC, veterans receive a VA Special Monthly Compensation benefit if they lost use of a limb or certain organs or extremities because of a military service connection. Monthly rates range from $4,288.45 to $11,521.15 in 2025. There's also smaller SMCs that just add on to your 0 through 100% rating schedule. So there's a little bit of nuance in there as well. Moving on, veterans pension. Okay, 2025 veterans pension. Veterans pension, there's also a spouse pension, which I don't know. Oh, yeah, they talk about that too. So we'll dive into it. But pensions from the VA are not retirements for VA employees. Pensions from the VA are low and no income safety net programs for veterans and survivors. All right, let's dive into it. Wartime veterans who are 65 years or older or permanently and totally disabled and on a limited income may receive. So also another thing they missed was if you're on SSDI or SSI, and when they reference permanently and totally disabled, they don't mean on the disability side. They mean in life, right? After service, you got in a car accident and now you're permanently and totally disabled due to that car accident. That would be in line with what they're talking about here. All right, so to receive pension, the veteran must have served at least 90 days on active duty with at least 1 day of it during wartime, which is half true. Because there's another one that says 2 years. It just depends on your time in service. Let me grab that for you. All right, here's the qualifier aspect. The 1 day during wartime is always true, but the amount of time served is different. So you started on active duty before September 8th, 1980. You started on active duty before September 8th, 1980, and you served at least 90 days on active duty with at least 1 day during wartime. So that's when they referenced. Or you started on active duty as an enlisted person after September 7th, 1980, and you served at least 24 months or the full period for which you were called or ordered to active duty, with some exceptions, with at least 1 day during wartime. Or you were an officer who started on active duty after October 16th, 1981, and you didn't previously serve on active duty for at least 24 months. The 65 years old aspect, one of these things must be true. You're at least 65 years of age. Well, let's say you're not. Maybe you have a permanent and totally disabling condition. Okay, what if you don't have either one of those? Well, maybe you're a patient in a nursing home for long-term care because of a disability. And then the last one is you are getting Social Security disability insurance or supplemental security income. So if you're receiving any one of those things, or if you're in one of those boats and you meet the military time requirements, then you could be looking at pension. So sorry, I had to dive into that a little bit from this just to give a little broader of a picture. So moving on, for 2025, a veteran or married couple must own less than $159,240 in assets for the veteran, to qualify. The veteran's pension, okay, let's see if they say it. The veteran's pension, now they're talking about income. So as far as the assets, your home does not count. But if you had rental properties or you had a bank account with a lot of money, that does count as income. If you think pension might be a benefit you need, contact an accredited representative. Don't just read this stuff and think that you can figure it out. As you can see, I'm already poking holes in this, opening up more avenues for people to qualify. So work with an accredited rep. That is always the suggestion. So anyway, moving on. The veteran's pension makes up the difference between the household income and a designated threshold or income limit. For a single veteran with no dependents, the VA will pay the difference between the veteran's annual income and $16,956 in 2025, while the income limit for a veteran who needs aid in attendance and has one dependent is up to $33,548. Now, these figures that they gave, those are called the maximum allowable pension rates. The maximum allowable pension rates. And what they do is they go, this is the maximum, but if you have any income coming in, we're going to subtract it from that amount. Now, even that, you can reduce your income in by excluding medical expenses that are not reimbursed and eliminating any educational costs that you may have from your income to lower your income down. And then whatever that net income becomes in this situation, let's say that you bring in, we'll just use easy numbers, $10,000 a month in Social Security disability. So now you have $10,000 a year. $10,000 a year of Social Security disability insurance, and the maximum allowable pension rate is $33,548. The VA will then pay you out $23,548 per year, broke down into monthly payments. All right, survivors, 2025 survivors pension. Certain survivors of deceased wartime veterans may also receive a pension, but the rates are lower and the service requirement is higher. A deceased veteran must have served at least 24 months on active duty with at least 1 day of it during a wartime. So let's take a look. So no, not true. So it's the same. So under here on the VA's website, am I eligible for a survivor's pension as a surviving spouse? At least one of these must be true. The veteran entered active duty on or before September 7th, 1980 and served at least 90 days on active military service with 1 day during a covered wartime period. Or the veteran served entered active duty after September 7th, 1980 and served at least 24 months with 1 day. So it's the same. It's the same as the regular veteran one. So I get a little bit frustrated now because what happens is people read this stuff and then they self-segregate out thinking they don't qualify for whatever reasons. Let me pull up here as well an example of the pay for you on the spouse side. All right, here's a quick example from the VA's website on spouse. So you're a qualified surviving spouse with one dependent child. You also qualify for aid and attendance benefits. Your yearly income is $10,000 per year from whatever, Social Security. Your maximum allowable pension rate is $21,696. Your yearly income is $10,000. They'll subtract that. It leaves you with your VA pension at $11,696 for the year, which breaks down to $974.66 paid out each month. Let's move back to the military.com article and let's move on. The VA will make up the difference between the unmarried surviving spouse's annual income and the unmarried or that of an unmarried child, because there's also a dependent survivor's pension as well, and $11,380 in 2025. The income limit is $21,696 a year for a surviving spouse who requires aid and attendance and also has a dependent, which is what I just gave as the example. DIC is the next one on this list if you've hung on. DIC is great. This is definitely the premier benefit for a survivor. So 2025 VA dependency and indemnity compensation. Dependency and indemnity compensation is a rate received by survivors for certain deceased veterans. In 2025, the base rate is $1,653.07 for a surviving spouse, with additional amounts for children, aid and attendance, transitional benefits for the first 2 years, and being married to their late veteran for 8 years while the veteran was 100%. They did a pretty good job covering that. I know they didn't dive deep to explain it, which I'm kind of an over-explainer. I'm going to try not to do that here. I've done videos on DIC and I'll continue to do those. Bottom line is that I'll go further in what they say here, but get with an accredited representative if you are the survivor, and you could potentially be qualified for this. So for the first 2 years, a surviving spouse requiring aid and attendance who qualifies for the 8-year provision with 2 children under 18 years of age would receive $3,582.68 per month according to the 2025 rates. When will you get paid? Now that you have an idea of how much you'll be getting, pencil in your 2025 paydays. Now, there's a few, right? So the military paydays, January 6th, which is today. Military retire pay is, there's a link to that. There's a link to the VA disability payments as well. So we'll skip all that stuff and just say thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.